Dad was leaving again for one of his business trips, suitcase already by the door. The house always felt too quiet after he left, though Elaine, my stepmother, did her best to fill the silence. That night, she mentioned having a girls' night, her voice slight casual. She said it like she'd done many times before, but something about the way she kept checking her phone made it sound different. She spent the afternoon cleaning and rearranging the living room, humming to herself. The soft scent of her perfume lingered in the air, stronger than usual. I watched from the kitchen as she poured herself a glass of wine before even starting dinner. She caught my glance and smiled quickly. "You don't mind if I have the girls over tonight, right?" she asked. I shook my head. Of course not. Her dress was new, simple but elegant, and I remember thinking it was too much for a casual night in with friends. Still, I didn't question it. I told myself I was overthinking. When Dad was around, she was warm, polite, and distant in a way that made her seem almost untouchable. But when he was gone, she became someone else, lighter, freer. As the sun went down, the house began to glow with that amber evening light. She set out 2 wine glasses, though I didn't see any food or snacks ready. I offered to help tidy up before her guests arrived, but she just waved me off. "Go relax," she said, smiling without really looking at me. Later, I heard her laugh softly while on the phone, the kind of laugh that didn't sound like friendship. It sounded nervous, excited. That was the moment I realized this girls' night might not be what she'd said it was. The night stretched on longer than usual. By 10, the house was still silent. No chatter, no music, none of the noise that usually came with her gatherings. I sat in my room pretending to scroll through my phone, but my mind kept drifting back to the empty living room. Around 11, faint music started, slow, low, not the kind of playlist for a group of friends. Then came laughter. Only 2 voices. Hers and someone else's. I froze. The tone was unmistakable, a man's voice, soft and close. My chest tightened as I muted my phone and listened. The sound of a wine glass being set down, the murmur of conversation, then a pause followed by quiet laughter again. I stepped out into the hallway, careful not to make the floorboards creak. The air smelled like cologne mixed with wine. The living room light spilled faintly through the crack beneath the door, flickering with the movement of shadows. I took another slow step. Her voice lowered to a whisper I couldn't make out, followed by a sound I didn't need words to understand. The couch creaked. My stomach twisted. I shouldn't have been there, but I couldn't look away. Through the narrow opening of the door, I caught the blurred outline of 2 figures close together. Her hand brushed against his shoulder, her laugh softer now, almost a sigh. I turned away, pulse hammering, trying to steady my breathing. My mind raced through excuses. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like, maybe I was imagining things, but the truth sat heavy, undeniable. The girls' night was a lie. I went back to my room, shut the door quietly, and sat in the dark, listening to the faint sound of betrayal echo through the house. I barely slept. Every creak in the house pulled me back to what I'd seen, what I'd heard. When I finally came out of my room, the morning light felt sharp, almost cruel. Elaine was already in the kitchen, humming like nothing had happened. Her hair was still curled, makeup smudged just enough to notice. She turned, smiled, and asked if I wanted breakfast. I said no. My voice cracked slightly, and I hoped she didn't notice. My phone buzzed, Dad checking in from his trip, asking how things were. I stared at the message for a long time, fingers hovering over the keyboard, then just typed, "Everything's fine." My throat burned as I hit send. Elaine moved around behind me, her presence suddenly unbearable. She asked about my plans for the day, tone light, almost teasing. I could hear the confidence in her voice, like she knew I wouldn't say anything. Part of me wanted to confront her right there, to ask who he was, to demand why. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, I watched her pretend everything was normal. She poured coffee, added sugar, and sat across from me like a mother having a casual morning chat. I couldn't even meet her eyes. All day, the house felt heavier, like it was holding its breath. I replayed the scene over and over, trying to convince myself I'd misunderstood. But every time I remembered her laugh, her tone, that small space between silence and guilt, it was all too clear. By nightfall, I still hadn't told anyone. I didn't tell Dad, didn't tell a friend, didn't write it down. I just carried it. And in some twisted way, I think she knew that too. When she looked at me before going to bed, her smile said it all. Secrets can be safer than the truth. Weeks passed before everything finally came apart. Dad came home early from another trip, unexpected, quiet as always. I was in my room when I heard his voice downstairs, then hers, sharp, defensive. It didn't last long. The sound of shouting gave way to silence, then the dull thud of a door closing. I didn't go down. I didn't have to. I already knew what had happened. When I finally stepped out, her things were gone. The wine glasses still sat on the counter untouched. The house felt different after that, emptier but calmer, like it could finally breathe. Dad didn't say much in the days that followed. He moved slower, spoke less, but he never asked questions. Maybe he didn't need to. Maybe part of him had always known, the same way I did. Sometimes, at night, I could hear him walking through the house, opening doors, standing in the living room for long stretches of silence. I wanted to tell him that I'd seen it first, that I could have warned him. But every time I tried, the words caught in my throat. What good would it do now? The damage was done. She was gone. And I was left with the weight of what I hadn't said. Months later, the house started to look like it used to, tidy, quiet, normal on the surface. But there was something permanent beneath the calm, something neither of us could name. I realized then that infidelity doesn't just break trust between two people, it poisons the silence that follows. It makes you doubt everything gentle, everything kind. I never told my dad what I saw that night. Maybe I thought I was sparing him. Or maybe I was just too afraid to admit how much it changed me too.